Hello again everyone and welcome back to the Super Rugby preview. We are looking at round number 8 and for the first time this season, finally, we have a guest in the room and it is the resident South African and Western Force expert, Brad Hartley. How are you going? Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, cheers mate. Thanks for having me again here and I'm getting ready to talk some rugby with you.
Yeah, it's a more of a neutral round for you, of course. You said before, no Western Force for you, which I don't know if we're going to get much time to talk about the Western Force and the current situation about that, but that's another discussion for another day, hopefully. And of course, no Sharks for you in this round either, which is a bit of a shame, but we've got plenty of other action coming your way as well from Super Rugby. So first things first, like always, we're going to have a look through the last round of action, have a quick comment on each match, look at the results from the SuperBru picks and results there, and then we're going to have a look at the big ones, the matches for round 8 of Super Rugby. So let's kick things off where it all began in Hurricanes territory. It was the Canes versus the Waratahs, first matchup of round 7. This one was a real game of two halves, wasn't it? It was a big thrashing to the Hurricanes early on before the Waratahs stormed their way back in the latter parts, almost too little too late really. The Hurricanes had fallen asleep. Beauden Barrett thought he might get an early bath, didn't fancy playing the game too much there. Really, though, the Hurricanes far too good. The Waratahs still look dreadful. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised at that game. When I got home on Friday afternoon, I checked the score at half time and it looked like it was going to be a blowout, so I didn't actually bother watching much of the game. But I looked at about 60 minutes ago, the Waratahs were actually fighting their way back into the game. And yeah, so I was quite impressed with them, their second half performance. It was kind of the opposite of what we're used to with the New Zealand teams. Normally they start off a bit slower and then second half, that's when they click. But I think the Waratahs nearly caught the Hurricanes sleeping, but the Hurricanes are probably too good for the Waratahs to overcome in the second half.
It was an entertaining match and it was at least good to see the Waratahs score some points, which they haven't looked like doing all season long. But the final score there was 38-28, the Hurricanes taking out the points and getting some rest to some key players as well in the second half.
Yeah.
Second match of the weekend. This was a cracker. This was probably the match of the weekend for mine. It was the Sunwolves up against the Bulls. This game just had everything. Had attacking, it had seesawing either side. Neither team really knows how to tackle. The Bulls have had a terrible tour, really. They've not had much fun on their way home now. And the Sunwolves, that was their opportunity. And boy, they really took every little slither to get there as well. They took it out 21-20, the smallest of margins they could possibly ever get. An entertaining match. I love watching that one. I was edge of my seat, and I couldn't care between who of them who won. It was entertainment plus, but two teams who, after all this talk about, the non-form teams and getting rid of them, that was so much entertainment from that game. I really liked it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I have to admit, as a Sharks supporter, I was a bit, I was pretty happy when I saw the Sunwolves took out that game. Not a huge fan of the Bulls, but yeah, it was a cracking game, and I think the Sunwolves definitely saw that the Bulls had rested a couple of their Springboks. Obviously, Hunter Pollard, who they've been counting on all season, wasn't playing. So yeah, they took their opportunity and capitalised, and they were able to get a really good win over the Bulls at home.
What's your take on that? Just while we're there, the whole what is it? Look, with the union to designated rest time for like Pollard and Creel, I think it was, who was out.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I think it's quite interesting. I think from what I've seen, Saru are the only people that actually demand that they rest the players. I don't know if NZRU do it at all, but I haven't seen ARU do it. And you kind of saw what happened, the result of that. While they might get a game's rest, they lost to the Sunwolves, and the Bulls really needed those points. They've had a really bad season, and that they could have saw that as a must-win game and an easy win game if they had played their best players. But mandated rest, and that probably lost them the game, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because that would have been a game they would have targeted as, we'll win that game because it's the Sunwolves, everyone targets the Sunwolves as a win. And to lose that, and Pollard has been such a key for them. But we'll talk about the Bulls later on when they're in action anyway. But I thought that was really strange how they designated those guys to go out. But I can understand why, given that it was the Sunwolves after all. So yeah, 21-20 was that final score. The Sunwolves' first win of the season, only their second win of the franchise history, which is crazy as well. Third match of this round 7, we're in Forsyth Bar where the Highlanders are up against the Blues. Another really tight game. Both times the Highlanders have faced the Blues this season, they've actually beaten them, which, you know, to be fair, Eden Park was no mean feat, and it was just as tough coming home for them as well. But the Highlanders look really tenacious, and they look like they could battle into wins that they probably shouldn't and don't really deserve. I thought they played pretty well. The Blues, I think, all the talk around Sonny Bill Williams, I thought he made a massive impact when he come on late in their second half, albeit with his stickers, and we're not going to talk about that whatsoever. But the Highlanders look good. I'm impressed by, you know, it's typical heart of Highlanders, really, isn't it? They don't have the players, you know, they don't have the star names everywhere, a couple of key men, and a real squad mentality seems to get them over the line. Is that how you saw that one as well?
Yeah, it was a good game. I actually expected the Highlanders to win by a bit more, but it was a nice close game, and I think Marty Banks especially impressed me in that game just towards the end with scored a couple of tries and then kicked a few over as well, and it was also the coming back for Sonny Bill, so it was a really good game, and I really enjoyed it all around.
Yeah, the Highlanders, Marty Banks especially, yeah, they've gone through a few of the fly halves there, and Marty Banks has been there, he's done that, he's done it all just about, and they'll be probably happy that he stayed around and didn't move away. I think he was supposed to go to Treviso earlier in the season, but that all fell away completely. So Highlanders come away with a 6-point win there, 26-20 over the Blues, which is pretty massive really. Just a New Zealand Conference derby win is huge. After that we went to Australia. The Brumbies and the Reds. The Reds. The big win here for the Brumbies, 43-10. If you've watched these preview or review videos before, you know that I had high hopes for the Reds this year. Really high hopes. I thought they were going to be a good team. On paper, fantastic side, big names, big signings, and they've been utter rubbish. Just complete crap. I don't enjoy watching them play. They're frustrating, they annoy me, and I was happy to see the Brumbies thrash them 43-10. The Reds showed nothing in that game at all. You got anything to add to that about Liam?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the Reds are actually the most disappointing, well, my most disappointing team so far. They've made so many big signings. Stephen Moore, George Smith, Quade Cooper, and those guys have done absolutely scrap for them. They haven't done anything. And it's quite interesting because I got a timeline here of all the scores in that game. And then right at the start, Chris Kuridrani scored for the Reds. And then the Brumbies scored, and then the whole of the second half, which is Brumbies. So, I tipped the Brumbies in that game, and they came through, and it was a real thrashing. So, the Reds were just completely hopeless in that game.
Yeah, I tipped the Brumbies too, but I didn't think they'd actually win that much. Hey, it was quite a thrashing, that game. 43-10 was the final score, if I hadn't said that already. The only player I really think is doing himself any justice at the Reds is Higginbotham. He's looking really good, but God, he's out in his own big time in that team as a performer. Okay, so here's one that you'll be nicely into. The Sharks versus the Jaguares. A tight one, a tense one, but the Sharks just got over the line, 18-13. I mean, the Jaguares have been really good this season. I've been impressed. I had high hopes for them as soon as they joined the competition. To be fair, it's taken them some time to get into it, but they're here, they've arrived, and I think even to push the Sharks to within 5 points is a pretty good effort. How did you rate your boys on that match?
We got the win, so the Jaguares are a good team, and a 5-point game, but I think on the whole it was a bit questionable. It was a bit of a questionable performance for the Sharks, so obviously comparing to the week before against the Lions where they really performed and lost. They moved Kerwin Bosch, who is one of the best fly halves in South Africa right now, back to fullback, and then had a debutant at number 10, which kind of messed with their flow a bit. Kerwin Bosch came back to fly half back in the second half, and then the game started to get going a bit for the Sharks. He's a really, really good player. But we got the win, and it was a bit scrappy from both teams, but wasn't the best game to watch. But the Sharks got the win, so that's what it really matters.
That's the main thing. The Sharks have got, to be fair, they've got a lot of young, really good talent coming up through their ranks. I think, given a couple of few years, these are guys that should be performing well, especially Bosch. Yeah, Bosch is amazing. I've seen him off and on a bit, and I remember at the start of the season when I previewed the teams, I got a couple of comments about that kid, and they're like, "Look out for this Bosch guy. He's something special." And damn, they're right. He is really a class above, and he's one that they need to nurture. They need to look after him because South Africa, they've got really good fly halves, but it's the style of play that they adapt. Now, from what I've seen, which isn't very much, he's quite an attacking player, but they need to make sure he keeps that sort of momentum going in that sort of way that he plays as well, because, you know, we don't want to see another, Stain who just kicks the ball away all the time. South Africa need to play their attacking game. They can do it. We all know they can do it. So the Sharks stuck home there. 5-point win, 18-13 over the Waratahs. Second last game of the round was the Stormers against the Chiefs. Oh, well, we talked about the Sunwolves and the Bulls being the game of the weekend. This one was just ridiculous. Some of the best tries you'll ever see in Super Rugby. Final score 34-26. This match just about makes you speechless, really. It was just some ridiculous play, some fantastic tries. I think, I've been saying it for a while, the Stormers are the team that's undefeated. They're flying nicely under the weight radar. Teams are just, they're going, it's the South African side, they just got an easy run. They're playing easy teams. That's a load of bullshit. They're a good team, and they've proven it. And now I think it's when teams are going to say, oh dear, these Stormers may be the real deal. The Chiefs found out the hard way. They're a good side as well. They haven't been the best since coming back from the bye, but how do you rate these Stormers?
I was really surprised, actually. I knew the Stormers were undefeated before, and but like you said, I thought they just played easy opponents, so they were undefeated. But I nearly fell off my chair when I saw that score in the morning. I had no idea they had the capacity to beat the Chiefs, and then I watched the highlights, and the tries in that game were absolutely incredible. That pass by Dylan Lades to SP Murray was one of the best passes I've ever seen on the ground behind the back, and then SP Murray collects the scores. It was a really good game, a really good team try from the Chiefs as well. I think going like 95 metres without even one ruck. So it was one of those types of games. It looked like a New Zealand derby match with the amount of running in that game. And the Stormers are really playing high quality rugby, and I definitely didn't rate them as high as I do now before I saw them play that game. I really thought the Sharks and the Stormers were the Sharks and the Lions, were the two best in South Africa. But I reckon the Stormers actually might be the best in South Africa right now after that game.
Yeah, I think it's woken up a lot of people to how good the Stormers actually are, which is great for Super Rugby that there's a South African team that's going to push it. Just beating a New Zealand team, even though it's in South Africa, is still a massive deal, and that was a fantastic game. Final game of the round, you had a double whammy in this round. The Western Force as well picked up the win over the Southern Kings, and man, sure the quality wasn't there, but man, that was an entertaining game. Try fest everywhere, and on par just about the try of the season as well. Cronje with a little round the back little flick, and there, what's his name, Ra or something like that, I can't remember his name. He was amazing in that game and picking up the try. The Kings looked good. They were fun. That game was exciting to watch, and it was two of the not the best, the worst teams in the competition, but they still put on a great show, an entertaining matchup. Your Force picked up the win again by 5 points. It was a weekend of 5. How did you rate that game?
Yeah, it was a really good game. In that game, we saw two teams on the chopping block really go at it and try to prove that they can stay and they can play a really high-quality brand of rugby. But they proved that. Both teams amazed me with the rugby they played. I thought the Force had actually run away with that game, but the Kings kept in it, and they had a really decent game. And you can see the improvements of the Force in that game as well. With a couple minutes to go, they were down 2 scores, and then in the past you kind of see the Force just give up and kind of disengage and don't really try. But we saw them work back and get back into the game and actually end up winning it. And it was a good performance from both teams. And like you said, Cronje's round the back pass and just crazy things like that happened in this game. And it was just two teams that needed to prove something going at it, and then the Force came out on top. But the Kings would have deserved to win as well that game.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought, if the Kings won that, I wouldn't have been surprised the way that game went. At one stage I thought the Force were gone, because the Kings, like you said, they went out to a 2-try advantage, and I thought, wow, they're actually going to pull this off, but it was just crazy tries everywhere. It was just great for running rugby. The Force did pick up the win though, just a slender 5-point margin, and they rounded out round 7, which was one of the best rounds of Super Rugby I think I've seen in quite some time. Entertaining games, close games, you know, teams that you don't expect to win, getting them. But all in all, as we segue nicely into the next part of today's video, it is the SuperBru picks, and once again, a complete round of correct answers. So, we are looking here, round 7. We have the leaderboard on screen now, and leading the way, Caleb 42N, still at the top there of the predictions with 65.16 points. He is becoming hard to topple there. His picks are becoming quite nice there. A bit of a change below him though. We've got a big drop there for Nate, who goes from 2nd down to 5th. And that sees Axel, Waggers and 3 Crowns 1 all jump up a position. The man we've got, special guest here today. Brett, where are you? Where are you, son? Down here. Oh, down here. You started the season off so well. You come in late. You missed 2 rounds, was it? And you stormed up the leaderboard. I felt like a complete idiot. Because you stormed past me and I played, you know, 10 games more. And then it's all falling apart. What's gone wrong?
I think, like I said to you before we started recording, I'm getting the result right, but I'm getting the scores woefully wrong. So I'm missing out a lot of points because of that. And then my luck position's kind of suffering because of not picking the score properly.
Other players of note going through the leaderboard, of course, my round was fantastic, getting all the results right. Actually, equal with Tank, who took out the yellow cap. Tank, I'm not happy with you, friend. Equal points with that man, yet he got the yellow cap and I didn't. I'm not happy. But despite that, Tank is up 12. I'm up 12 as well. 23rd position. I'm coming for the top 10. Scottish Cannon is making inroads despite his questionable love of the Waratahs. It is absolutely killing his chances of taking up this leaderboard. He sits in 18th as well, going up 11 spots as well. Who's got the wooden spoon this week? It is Yal Mato. I probably made a hash of that. He's sitting there down 9 spots, and further down the bottom we have M. Kruger, who's at the foot of the table. Alrighty, so with that in mind, we'll take a look at the fantasy team. Okay, so fantasy team, we can see that we still have the great names, awesome transgender sloths, that's right, leading the way on 1,345 points. The Solar Eclipse is behind him in 2nd, and Rupini Butha, the amazing former Blues player, I wish it was him, is sitting in 3rd position. Other teams in note, we've got the big rivalry with the Scottish Cannon going on. He's sitting down in 19th. And then it is the return of the All Flakes, who are storming up the leaderboard, up 6 in 22nd. A good round from us as well in the Fantasy League. So a good round for both my sides. And then we have Bath the Great, you know, sitting up the bottom of the table. Bath the Great. Well, they're not doing too great in the fantasy team at all, are they? So that is a look at the SuperBru picks. If you haven't made your picks already, remember to do it before the weekend starts. That is key as well. So let's have a look at what is coming up. It is round 8. Let's start that off and take a look. Okay, round 8 kicks off in Crusaders land. It is Canterbury, where the Crusaders are up against the Sunwolves. It's the first game, Friday night match for round 8. Now, the Crusaders are only one of 2 undefeated teams. They're one of the form sides, and really, it looks impossible to see anyone, especially the Sunwolves, beating these guys in an 80-minute full-on match. It's like teams have beaten them over 50 minutes, they've beaten them over 60, but no one has beaten them over 80. They're back from the bye. I've just read an article just before we started recording this about Kieran Reid is back in action as well this weekend. So, poor old Sunwolves are going to get the full wrath of the Crusaders. What do you think about the Crusaders heading into this one?
Oh yeah, they've been one of the form teams in the competition. Obviously they're undefeated, and I don't really see the Sunwolves changing that. They've been really good. Obviously they've been the comeback kings this year. I don't even know how many comebacks they've had when they've been down big and they've come back. Typical New Zealand team in that regard. And of course it's the return of their captain, fantastic Kieran Reid as well. And he just gives them a huge boost. Even though if it's not a performance boost, he'll give them a mental boost. So I think I tip the Crusaders by 25 here, so I think it's going to be very close.
Big one. So the Sunwolves, obviously, they're coming off their first win of the season. That's huge for them. They needed it. They deserved it. They played better. But I think home is where the Sunwolves are going to do something great. On the road, I don't know if they're going to do anything better. I don't think their defence will even look close at holding out the Crusaders. But what I am hoping for from the Sunwolves it's just what they do. They attack, they score some great tries, and they look like they enjoy their rugby. I'm picking you with you on this one. I've got the Crusaders by 33 for this one. Have you got any words on how you think the Sunwolves are going to go? We think they're going to do anything special here against the Crusaders?
Not really. I think you can't really compare the Crusaders and the Bulls. So yeah, they got a good win against the Bulls, but the Bulls without a couple of their Springboks as well. So I don't think they're really going to contest. I mean, respect to them. There was a good win last week, but I don't think they're really going to contest this one.
It's going to be tough. So we're both going big wins, Crusaders. I'm going a bit bigger, which is probably going to come back to haunt me later on. But it's all right. Crusaders for the win, 33. You're going plus 25. Should be a good win. I'd expect the Sunwolves wouldn't have enough. Second game of the round, and this is my least favourite side. Back in it again, the Reds. The Reds. But how about this? They're up against the Kings. Now, I was writing this out. I thought, oh yeah, Reds, okay, Reds to lose. And then I saw they playing the Kings. I thought, shit, this is going to be a bit tough. The two worst teams in the competition for mine. But I like the Kings better. I hated the Kings all throughout, but I'm disappointed by the Reds. I think they're overrated. They're underperforming. They haven't done anything since they had that good half against the Crusaders back in round 3. As for the Kings, they're good on attack. They're a bit like the Sunwolves, but they can't defend. They've got some good players. They're starting to develop some players who are getting recognition in Super Rugby. But I think they're a chance. I've got the Kings a chance here. And I've sneakily given them a tip. What's your call?
So, as of Wednesday, it's quite key that you know right now I've got the Reds by 5. But I think I might wake up in a few days and want to change my pick because I really don't trust the Reds this year. They've put on some horrible performances. So I think the Reds are going to win. Right now, they're going to win. So, you know, they've got Kwaku back this week, which is pretty big for them, even though he can't kick to save his life. Sorry, Reds. So yeah, I've got the Reds by 5. I think they can win. They've got Chris Kurandrani is definitely their best player so far, and James Tuttle has stepped up to that scrum half role. So I think they can do it. The Kings look good against the Force. If they can do it against the Reds, in my opinion, the Force are better than the Reds. Obviously, I'm biased, but
yeah. I'd agree with you on that.
Yeah. So they got the win against the Reds. So. So it's the two teams the Force have actually beat this year going up against each other. So, so I reckon the Reds are going to win. The Kings were good last week, and I reckon they're going to be good again this week. But I think the Reds are going to win this one.
It's got the Reds, what, by 5, did you say?
By 5, yeah.
5. So I've got the Kings by 3.
As I know.
That's my sneaky pick. It was the Sunwolves last round. It's the Kings this round. The Reds have an amazing team on paper, but I'm sick of them not performing. And I'm rebelling against the Reds. I was annoyed by how they played against the Hurricanes with that referee as well. That really annoyed the shit out of me. That ref was horrible. And I just don't like the Reds anymore. And I like to see Quade Cooper fail because I'm from New Zealand. Okay, so we've got opposing picks on that one. You're going the Reds by a slender margin. I've got the Kings. It will be amazing if the Kings get a win. Wouldn't it be a real kick in the teeth to Sansa if the Kings can win this game? And they're like, nah, give it the Kings. And the Kings like, oh, sorry, we're just beating one of the teams you want to keep. That'll be great. I hope that happens. All right, third game. We're rambling on. Third game, the Blues versus the Hurricanes. This one could be quite entertaining. This one could be interesting. Of course, a lot of the media this week around the Blues is with the whole advertising thing with Sonny Bill Williams. I mean, something completely blown out of proportion. Yeah. I mean, it's religion. It's in his contract that he can do stuff like that. Who cares? Get over it.
Just a bit of tape around the collar. There's nothing more than that.
But he's got his own special jersey now. The media here is making a big deal about it. No one really cares. The Blues, they looked alright before a couple of rounds ago, before they win their second loss to the Highlanders. They don't seem to score too many high points though. But this is a really tough draw for the Blues to come up against the Hurricanes, who really look like one of the best teams in the competition. The combination of the Barretts, Bowden Barrett obviously cleared from his red card, so he's going to be playing, which is big. And they've had a good half rest against the Waratahs. They didn't really do anything. So for me, I'm going with the Hurricanes for this one. What's your call?
I'm also going with the Hurricanes. I got Hurricanes by 11, so I reckon it's going to be sort of close. That's if the Blues don't ease off in the second half. But if Sunnyville Williams is starting this week, it might give them a bit more of a chance. His offload game is probably the best in the world still. So, yeah, it's going to be a good game, but I reckon the Hurricanes will get over them quite easy.
I found when Sunnyville come on last week against the Highlanders, the Blues could have won that game.
Yeah.
They were good enough to actually, based on what Sunnyville did, he gave them a couple real good chances to put that final nail there in that game, and they could have won it. But the Blues lack something around the man they have at 10 and the support play that they get around players through the middle of the park. And I think they just suffer from key areas that they just can't seem to nail down. I've got the Canes by 16 to win that one. It could be more. The Blues are a team that could, if they get a good start, it could stir them on. If they get a bad start, they could just throw it away and go to next weekend. So it could be an interesting one. I think the Blues are capable. They got the talent, but do they have the mental capacity? It's a big thing there. Right, we're back in Australia for our next match. It's the Rebels versus the Brumbies. Now, another team on the chopping block. Mentally, is that going to have effect? I'll let you go first on this one. Who have you got?
Okay, so the Rebels aren't my favourite team at the moment. With all this controversy, it's all I've been hearing about lately. But yeah, so I have nothing against the Rebels. I really feel for them. They're also going through a horrible time, just like the Force, the Cheetahs and the Kings are as well. So mentally, I reckon I would say it won't affect them, but it definitely will. There's no way a player can train with everyone talking about who's getting axed and where will players go next year, and them thinking to themselves, will I have a contract next year, will I not? Do I have to make any plans to go somewhere else? Coaching staff as well will be affected, and it's really going to get ugly, this whole scenario. So mentally, I think the Rebels won't be at the game. It's in Melbourne, so they might have a bit of a chance there, and they will be playing for a bit of pride. Having a bye last week as well, but it's also the Brumbies, so I got the Brumbies by 12. And I reckon the Brumbies will get the win over the Rebels.
It's going to go one of two ways for them, isn't it? They're going to completely shut off and just go stuff this, or it's going to stir them on big time. They're going to be so pissed off that they're going to play like they're the best team in the world. That's the big question as to what way they're going to go. 90% of the time, it all goes pear-shaped and they just go to mud. But, you know, who knows? It depends on the mindset and how it's being treated there. You know, the coaching staff, are they trying to, you know, use it as a way of egging the team on, or are they just going into a big depression about it? Is going to be the question. The Rebels have been horrible all season. If this whole Super Rugby thing hadn't come about, I would have picked the Brumbies by a lot more regardless, because, you know, it would have just gone on like the whole season is. But I can just see there's that slight chance that the Rebels are just going to be so pissed off, and it could cause. And the Brumbies aren't a great team either. Like, they're the best in Australia, but overall, there's not a huge amount between the best and the worst in Australia. They've got a good pack. The Brumbies, they play their strengths. They grind a win down. They grind down the team. They play almost like a South African style of years gone. You know, how they just grind down, use their pack quite well. But still, we've seen the Rebels a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember who that was against, the Waratahs, I think, where they played possibly the best half of rugby I've ever seen from not even an Australian team. They were so good. They were just tearing them to shreds. If they can play that for 80 minutes against any team in this competition, I'd back them for the win. That was just ridiculously good. They've got it in there. That's the thing that's so annoying about the teams like that, the Reds, and that there's so possibilities to be so good, but they're just rubbish. I've got the Brumbies by 31. Should be a big one. I think they might come out with a bit of passion, but it'll all fall apart after a while for the old Rebels, and she'll go down the toilet rather quickly, I'd imagine. Right, now this is a big one. This is a really big one. The Cheetahs versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs lost last week to the Stormers, yes, that's what I said. The Cheetahs, on the other hand, this has got such similar names, it's hard to get it out. The Cheetahs, on the other hand, much like the Rebels, but I think their mindset is going to be completely 100% anger. They have no way to feel deserved, like they should be getting kicked out of this competition. Like the Rebels and the Force, I guess, you know, they have been on the teetering of poor performances, but the Cheetahs, much the opposite, I think. They're going up against a Chiefs team with a loss. First loss of their season. This one could really be good. who are you going for? Did you find this one hard to pick?
Yeah, I did. And the score I chose is really close as well. The Cheetahs being the most undeserving of all this speculation about being in the chopping block. Undefeated Currie Cup champions have really showed signs of improvement this year, and Bloemfontein is a really tough place to play this year. I think every team that's gone there has struggled. So I've got the Chiefs by 7. So I've gone with the Chiefs because I think they're the better team. But like you said, the Cheetahs are going to be really, really angry this week, and they're really going to be wanting to prove something to show that they can stay in this competition, and they deserve to stay in this competition, which I think they do. So it could go either way. I could actually switch over to the Cheetahs a bit later in the week, but right now I've got the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm pretty much exactly the same. I've got the Chiefs by 8. But I can just see that the Cheetahs are a team that when you discount them and when you pay them off and say they're done, or you underestimate them in any way, that's when they're at their best. That's when they're most dangerous. And if the Chiefs go into this match with any slither of doubt about themselves, any slither doubting the Cheetahs, it's going to kick them in the ass. And I would not be surprised to wake up in the morning, or Sunday morning, I presume that would be, and, it's Easter Sunday, isn't it? Maybe it's time for an all-nighter Saturday night of Super Rugby. That sounds great. So I wouldn't be surprised to watch this game and see the Cheetahs pull off a win. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cheetahs win by 10 or 15 points here. The Chiefs on tour. We all know the teams don't like going to South Africa, New Zealand, vice versa. And it could go either way. I'm going to the Chiefs by 8. I'm going to stick with it because I really should do that. And it always backfires when you change your mind last minute. But that could be a cracking game of the round. Right. We've got a couple games to go. Another really tough one. This is a really tough round of games in South Africa especially. Stormers and the Lions. I had real trouble picking this one. I'm going to let you go first on this one as well, because it's tough to pick, and these teams are both brilliant, but who's got your nose on this one?
So this is definitely, in my opinion, the game of the round. I don't see any other game that can really compare to how big this game is. It's going to be the battle for dominance in South Africa. So I've got the Stormers by 5 in this one. I first was going to go with the Lions, but then I looked at how the Stormers played last week against the Chiefs, and obviously they've been playing New Zealand. Well, they played New Zealand opponents this year. Lions haven't. It was the same last year, but vice versa. Lions coming off a bye could take a bit more time to get into it, longer than the Stormers. But the Stormers are really playing good rugby right now. SP Moret has been. I've been quite disappointed. SP Moret used to play for the Sharks, and he wasn't ever this good when he played with us. So, no, he's been incredible lately, and obviously Dylan Lades didn't do much last week, but he's all you've been seeing this week because of that amazing pass he had. So yeah, I've got the Stormers by 5. It could go either way though. It could be Lions, but it's in Cape Town, so I've gone with the Stormers.
Yeah, home advantage counts for a bit, doesn't it, really, in that. But the Lions, I think what their undoing would be is they're such a good attacking team, but they do lack what some other teams have defensively. So I think that could be their undoing, the fact that the Stormers may get some easy tries through errors defensively by the Lions, possibly. But all in all, I think that's, the two best South African teams. I'm really impressed how the Stormers have come about this year. They've never really gone away, but they've always been that team that can step it up and once again, undefeated. One of only two sides now undefeated, the Stormers and the Crusaders. You can't ignore that. You can't ignore that. They've played good teams, and to get to round 8 without losing a game is not an easy task. The fact is that 16 other teams haven't done it. Simply enough, that puts it in perspective. It's going to be a cracker. I've got the Stormers as well. But a little bit more than you. I've got them by 11. So I just think it'll be very high scoring. Probably looking high 30s, 40s possibly to the winning side. But the Stormers will just have, like say, off the bye as well makes a bit of a difference. Maybe slow coming into the game. We saw the Chiefs off the bye going to South Africa very slow into the game as well. That could be a bad start. Chasing the game, never a good way to start. So, yeah, Stormers by a whisker, 11 points is my pick for that one over the Lions. Okay, last game of the round. It is the Bulls. They're up against the Jaguares, who are also back into action for just the second week coming off the bye. So they'll be looking to grab that extra 5 points that they missed against the Sharks and put it against the Bulls, who are coming back from a terrible tour. They will be just distraught after losing to the Sunwolves. That would have absolutely put a smashing hammer in their season. The Jaguars, however, they're looking alright. They're looking good, impressive. Can you see a way back to winning form for the Bulls? It is at home for them. And have we really seen the Jaguars travel that well?
Before, when you asked me why my SuperBru isn't going that well, I forgot to also mention the Bulls. They've been absolutely stuffing up my SuperBru this season with their losses. I don't like the Bulls, but I have been tipping them for some reason. They've been letting me down every time I've tipped them. So this time I've gone with the Jaguars. After last week's game when they also stuffed up my SuperBru again against the Sunwolves. So the Bulls have done a complete 180. Loftus used to be probably the fortress in South Africa for a Super Rugby team. You could not win there. But right now they haven't won. They've won one game at Loftus, and that's it. They played 6-1-1. Jaguars played 6-1-4. So I think the Jaguars definitely have an advantage. They played the Sharks pretty well last week. They didn't get the win, but the Sharks are a pretty decent team this year, so they shouldn't really be disappointed with that result. And I reckon I said Jaguars by 7, but it could be way more than that, to be honest.
Yeah, the Bulls certainly haven't had a season to remember. But what I find the most that I struggle with the Bulls is how they had that really good attacking style last year, and they seemed that they were working on it really, really hard to try and develop themselves into an attacking fluid side. That just seems to have gone so much out the window this season. What do you attribute that to? Do you think they've just canned it because it didn't work last year, or have they just had too much of a change in personnel? Or do you have any insight to what's gone on with the Bulls?
I think most of it goes down to coaching. I think Nolas Marais is not a very good coach. He doesn't really know what he wants to be. Bulls traditionally have always been that kicking territorial team. I think that they want to change that. I think every Super Rugby team is trying to get out of that and change. New Zealand were the first to kind of revolutionise that type of game. And then after that, the rest of the world's kind of followed because it works. Running the ball really works. And so I think the Bulls want to change, but I think that traditional mindset is kind of holding them back. Yeah. And also relying on Andre Pollard too much after he came back from a horrible injury. It's kind of halted them this season. They need to put some of the responsibility on the other backs as well. They've got really quality running backs like Warwick Gallant, Jesse Creel, Jumbo Lango as well. It's really good running backs, but they don't really unleash those guys. They kind of they're in between now. They're in that middle phase, but they don't really know what they want to do. Yeah, it's disappointing too, because I think they're really growing that last year, and it was almost like another year or maybe 2 years, and they could actually nail it, but it's gone. It's out the window, and I think that they were much worse off for it too, because they've been terrible this year. Horrible tour, and it was just capped off, wasn't it? And like you say, they heavily rely way too much on Pollard, and you can tell, like we saw when they toured, they were good for 50, 60 minutes while Pollard was on. As soon as he went off and they brought the rest of those subs on, it just completely died. And that's just way too much reliance on him. An injury, imagine if he goes the rest of the season. They will be so stuffed. I've gone with the Jaguars by 13 for that one. But, it could be a lot more. Depending if the Bulls play good for that 60 minutes, they could hang in there and it could be a decent match. But I'd expect the Jaguars to get that one. They've been a good side this year, and they should pick up some more points, which is great for Super Rugby, seeing the Jaguars up there on the leaderboard, getting some good points as well. So that is it. That wraps us up. Another look at Super Rugby Round 8. Picks all done and dusted. Brett's put his life on the line. He's made his picks, and now you're all going to pick the opposite because he's gone downhill in the last couple of weeks now. No, I'm just having you on. No, get in there. Copy his picks if you like.
he's been going pretty good until the last couple of weeks. So I was actually quite surprised how amazing you did right off the bat. It was just phenomenal for a start there. But do remember to get your picks in there. We'll be back again next week as well. Hopefully have another guest. Looking at getting a couple other people on as well. If you'd like to see Brett back on the channel, let us know in the comments. Leave a thumbs up as well if you like what he's had to say over the course of today's video. And thank you very much, Brent, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man. Always great to come on and talk some rugby with you, and can do anytime.
Sweet as. Hopefully have you back again sometime soon on the channel. But that is us for today, guys. Thanks for tuning and watching, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.